Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program 2, where I have untracked all of those vector engines. They're now gone. I also restarted the game and it's running better. I'm not going to call it great, but it's about twice as good. In fact, it was better previously. Maybe the game needs another restart. However, I have burned us up to about 70 kilometers. Our thrust to weight on this is too low for it to be very useful in circularizing this particular orbit. However, I don't know how accurate this number is. It's going to be like, what, 56 meters per second? Maybe. Actually, that might be accurate, now that I think about it. At any rate, this is too low of thrust to weight and too low of delta V to get us to where we're going. So we're going to have to go back to the KSC here. There we go. And once we arrive at the KSC, we're going to need to build ourselves a substitute vehicle for pushing ourselves over. So let's head into the VAB, and it's probably going to load in our monstrosity, and we're going to be like, no. Just no. Please no. Or is it going to be empty? I would hope it would be empty, but I'm guessing this is going to take a moment. In fact, I'm going to cut out this... Actually, it is empty. I was going to cut out the loading because I thought that it was going to load the monstrosity, but no, this is empty. Okay, beautiful. So we're going to have an extremely light payload here. All this is going to be a remote guidance unit, and this will be an XL remote guidance. Then, on top of that, we're going to need a little bit of battery. So we're going to put an XL battery on there, just the one, and then we're going to put in a stabilizer on top of that. So that'll be the largest stabilizer that we've got, something like this. Then we're probably going to put that in a fairing, would be my guess. Yeah, we should probably put that in a fairing. So that would be something like... this large fairing, huh? We don't have an XL fairing? Okay, I guess we may just have to lift this as is. Well, on top here, we're definitely going to need to put in a docking port, and I don't think that that's going to be a problem. So we can just do something like that. That'll do for now. Then what I want to do is I want to have some hydrogen tanks. And I'm not going to even bother with a decoupler here. There's not a reason to do that. We're going to have an XL hydrogen engine, and I'm going to put in 2 of these. And then down here, we're going to put in some number of engines. I don't know what that number is just yet. 1. That number is 1. We're going to put in 1 engine here. But this is, of course, not the end of this. This is way, way too non-powerful. So, I don't like the idea of 1 engine here. To be honest. I want it to be a little larger. So, I think what we're going to do is we're going to put a strut out here. So, we're going to grab ourselves a truss. And that is going to be, like, out here, like this. So, we're going to do, like, quad symmetry there. And then the idea would be that we would attach engines to it like this. That has fuel flow, right? It should. Yes, that has fuel flow. Okay, so that'll be fine. That'll take off without any problem. We can even potentially squeeze one into the center, especially if we move these out by an additional truss here. So if we were to do something like this. And then we place these guys here. I would want to strut that for sure. But then we would place another engine right there. And that would give us 5 pushing engines. That seems reasonably good. Now, we should definitely strut these together. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to grab some EAS-4s. We're going to strut the engine to the truss. And then I'm going to... oh, this needs to be in 4x symmetry. I'm just going to put that there for now. So the engine to the truss, like that. I'm not sure, is this connected? I don't think it is. Okay. Like that. There we go. That should be good. Then we're going to grab this strut here, if the game allows me to. There we go. And we are going to simply connect from here Oh, this isn't going to let me do this? Okay, get rid of that. We're going to connect from here to here, like that. That should be fairly solid in theory. But of course, this is only so much delta V, right? If we look at how much delta V this is, that's a lot. But once we add in all of that mass that this is going to be pushing, not so much anymore. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a monstrosity, of course. And we're going to put in a radial decoupler manifold in 8x symmetry. And then we're going to put in some spacers here. So we're going to need a fair amount of space. I'm thinking something like 5 meters should be pretty decent. That might be enough. We might have to push that out further. But for now, that will do. Now what I want to do is I want to grab some of these 2x hydrogen fuel tanks. I'm wondering, can we radially attach these? The answer is yes, we can. I think. Okay, we can. Just trying to get the correct alignment for them. It's right... Not that. It was not that. Okay, come on. You can do it, KSP2. KSP2 is struggling right now. Okay. Let's try it out over... No, I don't want to connect like that. I want to connect out here. But I want to connect in a very specific orientation, and that's it. Okay, so we connect it like that. Now we're going to need to definitely run a fuel line from outside in. That's going to go from here into here, like that. Perfect. Now we're going to need to run struts as well. So we're going to grab EAS4 strut connectors, and we're going to take this in like so. Then I also want to run a strut inward to make sure this is nice and rigid, like that. So something along those lines. Then we can grab a couple more of these spherical tanks. So we're going to put these guys up here, like that. Is that too much? Too much height? I think that is too much height. We can put them down here, for sure. And that's reasonably fine. So that seems okay. I suppose we could just slot some smaller hydrogen tanks up top here. Kind of like that. But the concern here is we need to be able to dock here, right? But we know that we actually have a little bit of docking space there. So I'm actually thinking that we're probably... Emphasis on probably... Come on, go ahead and actually delete. It really doesn't want to delete these. Okay. It really doesn't want to delete these. There it went. Okay, beautiful. So what I'm thinking is, if we put this here, we know that there is some space here. So that's definitely noted. Okay, now, I want to put some reaction wheels up top here. We're going to need some power generation on this as well. So we're going to go to electricity. I'm going to grab a 10K battery module, and I'm going to put one up there. Then I want to put in some reaction wheels to help us turn this. It's not a huge amount of weight. Each one of these is 50 tons. So something like this should be fine. And we know that this protrudes down. So I think we'll be able to dock like this, in theory. Then, down here, we're going to be putting at least one set of engines. The question is, do we want more than one set of engines? I think this will do for now. So, this is all of these guys that would be something like this, and then this order would need to be flipped around. Like that. Okay, so something along the lines of this. And then we would need to deliver this, of course, into orbit. Okay, I think I'm going to run another set of struts out here. So we're going to run a set of struts going like this, and then a set of struts up top as well, just to make sure this is nice and rigid, in theory. About like that. There we go. And the questions are, how does this turn? And we're going to need some power to it, too. So some power generation here will be very useful. I'm going to go with Colossuses and we're just going to put them right out over, I'm thinking, here. Like that. Okay, now we just need to lift this thing. And the question is, how are we going to go about doing that? Well, I am thinking that we can get away with fairly light lifting here. So I'm thinking decouplers and then just like 8 pylons. I say fairly light. This is in comparison to what we've been doing. So decouplers here, and then I'm thinking that we would have an adapter, because this is a... What size is this? Is this large or extra large? Okay, we'd need an extra large adapter. So let's go into here, put in our extra large adapter, and then we would get a pair of fuel tanks, which would be, as soon as it loads in, something like this. So we'd put in that one, and then we put in one beneath it, but we're a little too low here. We're going to need to raise up our whole assembly. Something like that. And then we'll do that number. Okay, now I'm going to strut this down at the bottom. It's already strutted up here, so that should be reasonably good. But I'm going to strut it here, and I'm going to strut it here. And then down at the base here, we're going to put in a bunch of vectors. So, first things first, we're going to put in vectors like that. Okay, then we're going to need roughly 1 million of these vectors. So, my question is, what is the atmospheric thrust to weight of just this? 0.11? That's not too bad for just this single set of vectors. I don't hate that. So I would put one here, and then one about here, here. I want you to attach down here, please, not up there. Why would I want you to attach up there? Okay. So I'd like you to be about here. So this is going to be like 7 vectors. This is maybe not enough. We'll see. But one there and one there. And let's see what that thrust to weight puts us at. So let's combine all of these together. We might need to get more thrust on this, and that is fine if we do. This is already showing as 1.25. I mean, this is a pretty light payload in comparison. Let's let that update. Okay, it's now showing as 0.76. So that is definitely fine. I'm going to grab this guy, and I'm going to move him out to here. I'm going to grab this guy. Oh, don't go up there. There you go. I'm going to grab this guy and move him to here. Now I'm going to grab this guy and move him to here. Now I'm going to duplicate, and we're going to place here. Okay, I don't like the positioning of this one. We'll just do something like that. Then this guy is going to move out over this direction. That's a little too out, isn't it? It is. We'll just do something like that, and then place this one right up over here. This guy is going to go, not there. Yeah, about there. And then we'll duplicate this. And that will add in a bunch of vector engines. Something along the lines of that, although I'd like this to be moved in a little bit more. Stop it. I'd like this to be moved in a little bit more to be about here. Okay. So what does that put us at this point? That puts us at 0.76. Okay. At this point, we could definitely consider getting more vectors here, but I think instead the way that I'm going to do this is probably SRBs. I don't think we need as many SRBs. So let's grab ourselves some large radial decoupler manifolds, and let's put these in somewhere around here. I want these to be fairly low mounted. So let's now grab ourselves some SRBs here. And I would place these about here, like that. So that gives us just these external SRBs. And that should be fine for the moment. I now want to put in an aerodynamic nose cone for that. I'm a little concerned about the lack of nose cones up top, but we'll see how that ends up going. Okay, if we were to toss in the SRBs there, what does that put us at? This is claiming 1.34. I don't know if I believe it. So for now, what I want to do is I want to get another set of SRBs, and I want to put them, like, here. There we go. And then one more set of SRBs, and those are going to go out over about here. That's a little closer than I want it to be, actually. So that's going to need to be taken off, and we're going to instead be putting it about here in theory. But I'm not sure about that height. Yeah, it's going to need to be moved up a bit. So we're going to grab this here. And not that one. We're going to grab this one. And we're just going to place that about there. Okay, something like that. Now, of course, we're going to merge all of these stages together. There we go. Something like that. And we'll let that recalculate. That's now showing 1.17. I think that's probably reasonably accurate. It's not a huge amount of thrust to weight, but it should be enough to get this up and into orbit, which is pretty much all we need, right? We can always bring another one of these up, and it should always be able to catch up to this one because we're going to be burning a lot of fuel on pushing our vehicle. So I do want to get these threaded together. We're going to do that. And that. And that. And this. Perfect. And then over here, we're going to do something very, very similar. So we've got these extra SRBs on here, and we've got all of this burn time in this tank. The thrust to weight is a little concerning as it is right now. I might actually consider duplicating this here and placing this internally. Like that. And then this is very strange here, for sure. But what I want to do now is I want to take these SRBs here, and I'm going to get rid of this one. I'm also going to get rid of this one. This one does not want to delete. Okay, there we go. And I'm probably going to get rid of this one. I'm thinking about maybe moving it down as far as it'll go, which will be this. And then duplicating it, or not duplicating it, but detaching it and taking it up to 8x symmetry. Like this. And then just having an internal set of SRBs down here. Something like that. Then we would definitely want to do this number. There we go. And some struts down here. And then if it will reach, I would like some struts connecting from this center pylon to the outer pylon. I'm not sure that this is going to be legal. Apparently it is. Okay, so something like that, in theory. So now we have a big mess in our staging. So let's get rid of all of this. These are all going to be moved up to here. This detachment would happen when these do. So something like that, as soon as the game gets caught up. We're starting to get to monstrosity levels here, but let's just get this all taken care of. Okay. This is a bunch of things, to be sure, but we'll just do something like this, and I'm not sure where those SRBs are just yet. They're probably in a stage down below. Yeah, there they are. Okay. So simply something like that, in theory. Okay, so this is showing as 1.44 in vacuum, but I want to select this stage and switch that over to atmosphere. 1.29? Okay. I mean, it's not great thrust to weight, but it should do to get us to where we're going. So I'm going to save this as the pusher vehicle. As soon as the game gets caught up. Wow, that took a moment. And we're going to save that and put this out on the pad. Excellent. Now, the main question is, are we going to run into overheats on those exposed components? And also, how good is this going to go as far as getting into orbit goes? Our thrust to weight should be significantly better, and our performance should be a lot better than our last liftoff 2 in theory, but we'll see. There's a lot of jiggling around for the moment, but it seems like it should be probably okay once we get going here. So let's start lifting on off. Eventually. Okay, we do have liftoff at this point. It's hard to tell, but we do. So I'm going to put this into up vector for right now. We just want to go straight on up, and we want to lift this payload right on up. So we're going to continue to burn here probably until these SRBs detach. And the game is actually performing significantly better than it was on the last launch, so there is that. This is a lot less complex of a vehicle, that's for sure. But this is going to be 13 engines as opposed to the 1 engine that the current pusher vehicle has, which is going to be a significant thrust to weight increase. That said, we're also bringing a lot more fuel along with it, but hopefully that will be enough. We can always launch another one of these and bring them up and over, and we could even put in a second transit stage here or something, and we could see what that would end up looking like. This is claiming we have 0 delta V. I doubt that. Somehow I have a sneaking suspicion that we have more than 0 delta V here. Okay, so we're 8 seconds into this flight at this point. And we need to get this thing into orbit, and we need to rendezvous up with our lag machine, which is in orbit, but barely. Now, I could do multiple passes on that in order to, like, multiple passes burning prograde at the apoapsis in order to raise up our periapsis and circularize. It's just not enough thrust to weight to do it in one go. But I don't know. I'll think about that. Let's get this guy up into orbit first. It would be an easier encounter if it was circularized. That is for sure. This guy will be targeting a pretty low orbit, maybe around 100 kilometers. And that's fine. We're going to be flipping over to prograde much faster here because I do expect us to be at a significantly better thrust to weight fairly soon than our previous iteration. So that'll be absolutely fine. We're not going to shift over yet, though. We're only at an apoapsis of 700 meters. That's going to need to go up a bit. No doubt about that. Let's switch this over to sea level altitude. There we go. And at this point, I am going to lock us to prograde. It's basically the same thing as up at this point. So that'll be fine. And we're just going to continue to punch this up through the atmosphere. My main question at this point is, how are these exposed components going to fare? And we'll find out. We can also see this is bringing a lot more electric charge storage, which will be a useful thing for us, as well as electric charge generation, which will be useful. We ran out of electric charge doing maneuvers in the vehicle previously, off camera. I don't think I mentioned it, but you should have been able to see that when we were there when we started the episode, that we were indeed out of electric charge. And that is absolutely fine. So we've got 1,300 more meters per second in this stage. Now keep in mind, a lot of that is going to be lost to drag and fighting gravity. So that is absolutely understood. But we are up to 1,500 meter apoapsis. Excellent. The real question here is, how is our separation going to go for these SRBs? It could be theoretically a little bit dangerous. I think they'll be okay, is the current theory. But we'll see. It seems like if the tank and the SRB collides, based on what I've observed so far, it seems like the SRB pretty much consistently detonates and not the tank. And that would be pretty much exactly what we want. So hopefully that's what ends up happening here. Or the SRBs collide with each other and destroy each other. That would be fine too. It's the internal SRBs that I'm concerned about, to be clear, not these external SRBs. So that looks fine for now. We're cruising at 128 meters per second with an apoapsis of below 3 kilometers right now, but we're only 27 seconds into this flight. This performance is not the finest in the world. No doubt about it. KSP2 does not scale very well, and it'll be real interesting trying to get this docked up. I'm not sure how that's going to go yet. We'll have to find out. We don't have any RCS on it either, so it's going to be very interesting indeed. We're at 150 meters per second here, and really this is too much mass to direct easily with RCS, so I don't think I would use RCS at all, even if I went back and was like, yeah, maybe we should add it. I don't know if it would actually be that useful. It'd be a little useful, probably. Emphasis on little. So we're currently cruising at around 170 meters per second with an apoapsis of 4 kilometers. I was hoping the performance would be a little bit better here. It should improve after we get rid of these SRBs, but really I think it's the huge amount of vectors that are the drain on the performance is my guess. But I don't see another alternative considering how weak Mammoth 2s are. Like, this number of vectors is just better in every regard, other than perhaps performance. So there is that. We just crossed 5 kilometer apoapsis, and we're continuing to punch upward here. We are getting a small amount of horizontal velocity at this time as we cross 200 meters per second, and that's all looking good. So this is definitely reasonably fine. Our performance is not great, but it's not literally the worst thing on the planet, unlike the last launch. We do still have about 1,000 meters per second in this tank, according to this. I'm not sure how much I believe that. And this claims only 8,000 meters per second. Again, I'm not sure I believe that. Oh, right, it's because we're low in the atmosphere. This is going to go up tremendously, in theory, once we hit vacuum. Yeah, we can see our delta V is currently going up. That is expected. So we're at an apoapsis of about 7 kilometers right now. I think I'm going to flip over at about 10? Something like that. And we'll start going orbital prograde. We're going at about 250 meters per second right now. As I said, our thrust to weight is a bit on the low side. And that's not terribly shocking. We knew that that would be the case, for sure. But we just want to get this thing up and into orbit in a reasonable manner, in theory. So 264 meters per second. Let's go ahead and hop over to orbital prograde at this point, and let's get ourselves that gravity turn going. And we'll see how this ends up going. I'm not sure that this is going to be phenomenal. We might tumble. If we do, we'll revert this back, and we'll be a little bit more cautious with it. I'm going to tell this thing to stop turning right now. We're not maxing out our vectoring here, which is definitely intriguing. But we're not stopping very easily. That's for sure. Why aren't we maxing out our vectoring? Actually. Let's max out our vectoring. Try to bring this over. Okay. So orbital prograde is a little bit spicy. I'm not shocked about that. We might have to go up a little bit higher, but I think we might kind of have this under control. Kind of. I don't know. We're still going this way. I'm trying to bring us back and just hold us firm. Because I'd like to just burn at like 45 degrees-ish for right now. Looks like we are separating from the heading here. Yeah, we brought it to a halt. Okay, so no flip here. That looks good. Let's just put it right on prograde then. I don't know if we have the thrust to weight to burn at prograde here. We're going to keep an eye on this marker. If that starts going down, then we're going to switch over to hold attitude. As long as it's holding firm, it's relatively okay though. Okay, you're overshooting this, KSP2. Why are you not trying to bring it back as much? You should be doing this right now. This is going down. That's noted. KSP2's like SAS system is very, very weird. It likes to not max out when it really should be maxed out. I'm not sure why it does that, but it definitely does that. Okay. So I want to bring us back a little bit because we see that our time to apoapsis is going down right now. We're over 2 horizontally for our thrust to weight. So I want to put us into stability on. And I want to just hold attitude somewhere around here, rather than burning at prograde. So this will be fine for now. We just want to get some horizontal speed here, and I want to let this settle. And we'll run out of fuel for our SRBs eventually. But our apoapsis is not very high at this moment, so we might have to pull this back and just go straight up. Yeah, we're currently drifting over towards orbital prograde. That's noted. Now we're coming back. Okay. Cool. So 27 seconds to apoapsis is definitely not ideal. There's no doubt about that. And let's just let these SRBs burn out at this point. We want to push that apoapsis back out, but we're going to need a lot of orbital velocity, which is why I wanted to start going sideways here. But we don't have the thrust to weight to go as sideways as I'd like to. That is understood, and I'd like to just settle out here, settle our position, and let these SRBs burn. Eventually we'll make it up, but for right now, not yet. So we're going to be ditching our 32 SRBs eventually. There's a pretty major oscillation occurring here in the yaw direction. I'm going to try to isolate that, but at this frame rate it can be quite difficult to do because KSP will often not accept minute adjustments. So we'll see how that ends up going. We see the time to apoapsis is going up again. That is good. What's less good is this heat gauge. So I'm thinking we might have to change our trajectory here and just go straight up and then pitch over after the SRBs go off. It's not as efficient to get to orbit, but if we have a heat issue here, that indicates that we're remaining at low altitudes for too long. So that is definitely not ideal, and we would certainly like to do something about that. So let's continue to punch up our altitude. I'm keeping an eye on that heat gauge. It is going up. Yeah, it's definitely going up. So I think we're going to have to change our ascent trajectory here and go for a less efficient descent, just because of the exposed parts. The atmosphere is thinning, but it's not all that thin where we're at right now. So I think we just need to shoot up higher. There's a bunch of heat gauges there. Yeah, our apoapsis is, I think, just not high enough. I think we were too aggressive on this gravity turn. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to revert this back, and we are going to lift this off next episode. And we'll get it... Well, I think we'll probably be... like at the point of our gravity turn or something like that. I'll probably run some of it off camera. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings. And a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Ali Lead, Dark Horse, Xenocyte, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.